I've been in Osaka in Japan for the last 6 weeks or so, and can't really tell you why. Not because I'm not allowed to or I can't say anything, but more, I don't really know how to. What I do want to try and share is the overwhelmingly joyous welcome that I've had from people in Osaka. When I say I love Osaka, truly, Osaka daisuki, it's been special. So I have been out with my camera, and I've found that the camera has been one of the greatest tools to connect with people, because it creates some sort of interest with those around you in restaurants and bars, or even just out on the street like this. People see the camera and there's just something to discuss. It's a little bit like walking around with a pet. Quite often people will smile and wave at the dog, but you don't necessarily do that to every other person. And whilst I've been out and about, I've had 2 lenses predominantly on my camera, almost glued to the camera in fact. The main one has been a Sigma 35mm f1.4. It's actually a Canon mount, but I've been using it with a Fringer adapter. Oh my god, I absolutely adored this lens. Then the second one, which actually got sent out to me recently, but I've also been loving, is the Sure 35mm T2.9 anamorphic 1.6x squeeze. Oh man, it's been great to see things with a different perspective. It's just been incredible. And I think that's what I want to discuss mainly in this video. You see, with creativity and photography, filmmaking especially, the aspect that brings the most emotion and character and just life to whatever you're creating is the lens. It's not about the camera itself. I mean, to an extent, yes, the camera helps, but it's the lens that brings that character, that emotion, that connection. You know, choosing your focal length, maybe there's a particular character to the glass, or maybe a slight color or contrast that happens within that element. The lens you choose says so much about what you're trying to say and how you say it. I think this also crosses over into a personal aspect and a human aspect as well. Of the lens we choose to see the world changes our perspective on so many things, and I feel like I've gone through a big journey on that lately. As you can probably tell by my voice as well, I'm a little bit run down at the moment. I've been just going through a lot. So I've got some thoughts on the lenses, and I want to give a bit of a tribute to the welcome that I've had from people in Osaka, and just share that energy and that vibe that I've had. Oh man, this video is it's kind of all over the place, I'm sorry, but it's a bit of an update. There's a lot to share, and yet at the same time, it's not sharing anything. I'm aware of that. The key thing coming up is I'm actually moving out of London, so I'll be leaving London. I didn't expect this to be happening as fast as it is, and the end of the year is going to look very different, vastly different to the start of 2023. Well, I just don't know how to deal with it yet. That's why I'm struggling to kind of explain and talk through all of this, and I'm just kind of rambling at the camera. It's been a while since I've actually spoken to the camera. It's amazing how quickly that becomes difficult again. So with these changes coming up on the channel and everything happening so fast, unfortunately it does mean that there are a few videos that were filmed during the last trip to Japan over the winter that will just never see the light of day now. Seasonally, they're very out of touch with how it feels now. Obviously it's very luscious and green, and I actually love summer in Japan, and snowy footage and other things. Maybe it'll get reused into something in the future, but unfortunately, in order to clear this noggin and to get a clear path and stuff, I'm going to be starting afresh on everything, and just letting it flow, letting it happen as it happens. So anyway, these lenses, so just a few light thoughts on them. So the Sigma 35mm has been practically glued to my camera throughout the majority of this trip. And the Fringer adapter that I've been using, I've had it for a few years now. I did a firmware update on it, and the autofocus is just brilliant. It just works almost like a native Fuji lens. I've been, very impressed with how it works, and just loving using that super wide aperture 1.4, but also just the character of that Sigma lens, something really special about it. And I've just really enjoyed the images and the view of things. The anamorphic lens, this has been the first time I've ever used an anamorphic lens. I've always wanted to use one. However, traditionally they've been incredibly expensive. You're talking maybe $10,000 or so for like a cine anamorphic lens. So what Sirui have done and been able to produce a lens that is under $1,000 in anamorphic is pretty impressive. And then the new lenses, I think this is the Saturn one that I'm using, it's just over $1,000, and it's very special lens, and it's great to be able to just play with a new perspective. So effectively what it does is it squeezes everything into a tighter sort of field of view, I guess. And so when you take that into your post-production and then you de-squeeze the height of it, you end up with a much wider field of view than what you usually get with a 35mm, but you get the same characteristics of that focal length, and it is just a magical experience. Unfortunately on the camera you can't do the deep squeeze. That's something I feed back to Fujifilm all of the time, but at least I can shoot in 3x2, so I can make full use of the sensor when I'm filming in 6K. And the footage, I'm blown away by the character of it. I am really loving. An interesting thing with anamorphic lenses, most people are really drawn to things like the blue lens flares that you see so commonly, or the oval bokeh in the background. Those are characteristics I'm not personally a big fan of. The lens flare in particular, I really don't like. So what I like on the Sirui options is you've got two. There's a version that has the blue lens flare, and then there's one that has a natural flare, and I've definitely gravitated towards the natural, and it's just got a great character to it as well. The picture is just special. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun experimenting and playing. This is just a first look at it, I guess, but I've also been enjoying using it for photography, and I've been posting on my Instagram a lot of Fuji JPEGs with the anamorphic, and I just de-squeeze on my iPhone with an app that's called de-squeeze, and it works great. It works so well, and it just shows a different perspective to the scenes that you normally see. So I'm going to leave you with some footage from this trip in Osaka, and just some of the experiences and crazy stories I've had, because I seem to be a bit of a magnet for these experiences. As you've probably seen on my Instagram stories, I've had some wild connections lately, and there's plenty that I actually haven't shared as well, and I've definitely been documenting it, and I'll put it together at some point once I've comprehended how to actually tell these stories. Likewise, I really appreciate all of the kind DMs and comments that I've been getting lately. I know over the past where I've shared struggles with inspiration and other things, it's actually really connected with a lot of people, and they've felt the same feelings, and being able to push through that and sort of share this journey together has actually been a very sort of I guess, welcome addition into the content space. So yeah, thanks for all your kind words, and we'll get through this. Kanpai! 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 Kanpai!
クロちゃんです。
はい。